Well, it's Friday, and you all know what that means. As you always know, Friday is just a day before the weekend. But as always, we're going to be reviewing, of course, AEW Rampage with some interesting matches and, of course, the debut of MXM Collection. Of course, guys, you know who these guys are, former WWE stars, now making their transition into AEW. But the real question is, how will they do? We'll get to that until we cross the bridge on that. And then, of course, we're going to see who levels up on his latest episode of NXT Level Up. But first things first, we're going to be reviewing two of ChocoPro's much recent event from last month, of course. We have, of course, number 384 that took place on July 20th and 385 on July 28th. Now, however, I'm only doing these now because, as you probably be guessing, we're getting closer and closer to see the upcoming event from Got to Move. That's why I want to get these out of the way so we can get a clear picture of what's going to happen before then. And then, of course, we got some news updates to cap up our episode to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what offensive promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of pro wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that it's pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is the channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information that was not shared on this episode, I can either put it on the next episode or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. Of course, we also do the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, it's hammer time. So let's begin with our very first review, and this is the first of ChocoPro number 384. Alright, ChocoPro. Well, it's been a while since I actually did one of these reviews, and of course, they're a lot of fun to watch. Now, ChocoPro had their much recent event from one of their events that took place from last month on July 28th. As always, this is number 384 that took place in, of course, Ichigaya Square. The show opened up with, of course, the Best Bros, as usual, greeting the fans, telling them the lowdown, what's going to happen for the entirety of the show, yada, yada, yada. But our very first match, we have, of course, tag team action. We got the rookie Hiroyi Yamada teaming up with Miya Yatsuba. They take on Sayaka and Tokiko Kirihara. Now, of course, when it comes to this type of match, you would know what's the X factor in here. Now, Miya, as you know, she's been with the company for almost over a year now, so she has a somewhat better experience. But however, her tag team partner does not. She's been with of course the company for almost what few months. So basically, she would be the most likely person to end up losing the match because we know Sayaka has more experience. Sayaka and Tokiko, who are the fourth generation wrestlers trained under Emi Sakura, they probably would have the advantage to pick up the win. And of course, that's exactly what happened. It was Sayaka who picked up the win by applying a somewhat move when it looked more like she was trying to do a modified well, at first it looked more like the Boston Crab, and then it was more like like a somewhat modified version of the STF, but it's not. But it was effective, forcing, of course, Hiroyi to tap and end it like that. So she had no other choice, but Sayaka and Tokiko pick up the win. Second match, we have another tag team match. We have um, Mochi Natsumi teaming up with Saki to take on, of course, the tag team champions in a non-title match, Masahiro Takanashi and Emi Sakura. Now, of course, we all know how unstoppable those two can be when it comes. You know, we know that Masa is a bit of a clever and slick kind of wrestler. Emi's a bit violent. She doesn't give a damn or played by anybody's rules. But of course, Mochi Natsumi has one course of weapon, and that is the whip. And Saki doesn't care if she uses it or not, long as they try to get a win as possible, and possibly maybe get a shot of the tag team titles. That was something that I think it would have been on their minds. But however, that did not go according to plan for them because it was a double pin onto Saki that ended the match. So both Emi Sakura and Masa pinned Saki, and just like that, it was completely over. Now, our next match is a six-person tag match. Team number one, we have the rookie Iri Kane, Chiko Shikawa, and Sayaka Obihiro, or we just call her Obi. They take on Nonoka Seto, and of course, she teams up with the Best Bros, Mei Suga and Balinaki. Now, of course, we know certain things between both sides. We know that Obi and Chi have teamed up on various occasions. Chi has like a somewhat of a long-standing rivalry towards May. May feels the same way, but that's always been the clear-cut case. But the idea, what they intending to do here, as you know, the X Factor is Erikani. Much like Hiroyi, she's been with the company for almost a few months, a little bit more than Hiroyi, but Mei Suga applied her submission. It's like a modified version of the Mudo lock. Instead of locking into the to grab the head, it's more like you're just bending the arms backwards. Basically, that was exactly what Mei Suga needed in order to pick up the win. Now, for our Jonkin tournament, well, this was a very difficult one. You would have assumed that somehow that either the Best Bros or Emi Sakura or Masa would have picked up the win. Nope. But however, it was Chi who picked up the win throughout the entire tournament, and I think the runner-up is none other than Mei Suga. But I think it was Mei. I'm not sure. I cannot remember. But yes, so that's what happened. So that's pretty what happened for 384, and we move on with our next review, and that is of course ChocoPro's 385. Okay, as we continue with more with ChocoPro, this is number 385. This took place recently, well, I should say this past or last weekend, as always. Um, well, as always, we had Balinaki open the show, give the info and lowdown to everybody on what's going to happen on the show, as always. Now, our very first match, we start up with tag team action. We have, of course, Hiroyi teaming up with Nonaka Seto, and this time she faces against Sayaka, and she has a different tag partner this time, and that's Mochi Natsumi. Now, remember, last week Sayaka pinned, well, not last week, the last time Sayaka actually submitted Hiroyi on this one, because of course you may look at this. let's look at the team Hiroyi and Nonaka. They both are Nonaka has been somewhat of a rookie for quite a while now, and I think it sets the whole thing up, knowing she has a bit of experience. But however, X Factor's Hiroyi, who's only been with the company for a few months, so that would have been the deciding factor, because once again it was Sayaka who picked up the same kind of submission, like a modified version of the STF, forcing Hiroyi to tap out. So that's how the match ended. Now our next match, we have Miya Yatsuba teaming up with Saki to take on Tokiko Kihara and Emi Sakura. So you probably would say that, there's going to be some interesting developments going on. Now remember, Saki, as you know, on the other hand, she is a veteran. So is Emi Sakura. Tokiko, she's only been wrestling for almost less than a decade or so. But sets the tone. But it was Saki that picked up the win with Tokiko, thanks to Mia to try to keep Emi Sakura away from her. We know that Saki has much veterancy than Tokiko, and that played out very, very well. Now, our main event features Chiko Shikawa and Obi teaming up once again. They take on the Best Bros. Now, as I mentioned before, there's like a bit of a rivalry between both with Chi and May. You ask yourselves, what is the rivalry? We know that May has always been considered as the top star of ChocoPro / Got Move for a long time. But however, they decided to mock her. Uh, well, mostly May, because it was Chi's birthday. That was the main reason. But of course, you would think that she would try to overcome it because it was her birthday. It did not do any well. She got double pinned by both the Best Bros. Luckily, they were able to separate Obi away from her, and none of their usual tactics work in that. Now, for a Jonkin tournament, this one is a very interesting one. I'm gonna skip ahead because I felt the ending is so funny, because the last two standing in the Jonkin tournament is Hiroyi Yamada and of course Emi Sakura. Now, I know what you guys are thinking when I mention Emi Sakura. Emi Sakura has this. Now, one thing it was interesting, both these ladies made it through the finals because everybody they would keep doing the same thing over and over. You know, 2 papers, 2 rocks, 2 scissors, so on and so on. Emi had to do that with May. It didn't do any well. Hiroyi did the same thing too. But however, it was Hiroyi who walked out as the victor. I was like, whoa, she took out Emi Sakura completely. I did not anticipate that from her. But I have to say it was a sweet victory for her, taking on the master. But I think in record, I know that Emi Sakura had no involvement in Hiroyi's training. I know that was all Mei Saruga on that. But nonetheless, it was impressive. But of course, after the post show, we did see that they celebrated Chiko Shikawa's birthday. They brought out a piece of cake, and that's the whole thing. Now, of course, they were adding on, of course, events for their upcoming Got to Move show, the final countdown on the road to Corkin. So we'll see what happens from here on out. I'm sure we will be seeing that show real soon. That is going to be on the list of things whenever that day happens. But for now, we'll just end things here with ChocoPro and move on with AEW Rampage. Okay, and AEW Rampage. So, we opened up with Wheeler Yuta versus The Butcher. Now, this is a good opportunity for Wheeler Yuta to bounce back after losing, of course, the ROH Pure Championship this past, uh, was it last week or so, against Lee Moriarty. So Brian Dennison, who was at the commentary, decided to help him to get out of this little funk that he was in, and I thought it was a pretty good idea for him to do that. Now, of course, Wheeler Yuta is not facing any slouch at all. He's facing a much dangerous but much bigger dude, and apparently no matter what happens, we know Wheeler Yuta, whatever he learned from training, he was able to do this, but he was able to submit the Butcher and force him to tap out. So that's one way for Wheeler Yuta to bounce back, but let's see how he goes from here on out. Now, as I mentioned before, we have, of course, MXM Collection making their debut. However, they decided to put out a video promo because their first opponents making their AEW debut in Rampage is against none other than Private Party. So basically, they talk about poses and all that other stuff. But we did see a little video promo also from Private Party, you know, um, making some gestures towards MXM, like thinking, oh, they're not here, they're not being serious and all this other stuff. But we just gotta wait and see until we get to the main event. Now, our next match, we have Brian Cage versus Manny Lowe. Now, of course, it doesn't take a too genius how this match was going to end. Of course, Brian Cage was going to walk out as a winner because he was facing a wrestler who's local from the area, and he applied the Weapon X, and just like that, it was completely over. So, Brian Cage walked away with the win. Now, we all saw what happened this past, of course, Wednesday. Kyle Fletcher made an interesting move where he wants to get his hands on MJF. He could not stand by and watch, of course, MJF insulting his best friend, his brother, Will Ospreay, after what MJF has been causing. Of course, Don Callis is trying to reason with them, but at the same time, Brian Cage decided to, of course, to get involved and told them, certain things. I'm sure that, that no one needs to talk about Kyle Fletcher and all this, but in Collision, Kyle Fletcher may have put himself in a whole lot of pressure, and Don Callis made that perfectly clear. Even Tony Schiavone has to agree. The fact is this coming Wednesday, he's facing MJF, and now he has to face against Brian Cage. That's going to be a lot of pressure coming from him. Now, our next match, we have Nyla Rose taking on Harley Cameron. Now, Harley Cameron, as you know, made her presence known, had the mic saying that Saraya was not there, feeling like she's been disrespected, not going to be able to get her Wembley moment. However, she's filing the protests on that, but Tony Schiavone and the rest kind of agreed. She needs to rack up some wins if she wants to be involved in Wembley. But however, many people might have thought in this particular match that Nyla Rose was going to put away Harley Cameron just like that, but it did not. No one expected her to withstand longer than the average person to take Nyla Rose on. But unfortunately, it didn't last. Fortunately, Nyla Rose, who was pushed to the limits, was able to, of course, to put away Harley with a running beast bomb, which was more effective to keep her down. So, yep. So she walked away with the win. Now, our next match, we have the Bad Apple. Brian Keith taking on a guy named Jackson Drake. Well, I can tell you this match was over the moment it ever began. So, just like that. But however, as you know, this coming Wednesday, Brian Keith will be facing against Katsuyori Shibata. Rene Paquette conducted an interview with him. And Shibata, as always, talked about the status with Hook and Joe, that they will probably make their return sooner or later. And of course, he said that he is going to beat up Brian Keith. So I thought that was a very interesting thing. So we'll see. Now, as Collision is coming forward, we're going to see an amazing tag team match. We have the Undisputed Kingdom, more consistently with Roderick Strong, Matt Taven, and Mike Bennett teaming up. Well, they're going to be teaming up with the Beast Morto. So basically, they will be facing against FTR, Mark Briscoe, and Darby Allin. So that's going to be one heck of a match we don't want to miss. So yeah. Now, our next match, we have the debut of Mason Madden and Mansouri, better known as MXM Collection. They take on Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn, Private Party. Now, of course, there were going to be some poses coming from MXM, as always. And of course, Excalibur saying, I don't know about much fashion, but my wife does, which of course is true. I mean, what does he know? But however, I thought the match was kind of fun. Very interesting debut, but it was, of course, towards the end, a great teamwork on by both MXM to put away Mark Quinn, but it was Mason Madden who picked up the win by pinning Mark Quinn, and just like that, it's over. But if you guys saw what happened at the end, there was an interesting pose with Aubrey Edwards. I thought it was a very interesting way to end it, but we'll see how these guys would do. We know that they have a long way to go. I'm sure there'll be targets by certain tag teams who will think they don't take things very seriously, but we'll just gotta wait and see. But as of for now, we end things right here with AEW and move on with NXT Level Up. Okay, so who levels up on this latest episode of NXT Level Up? Let's find out. Our opening match, we have the crazy psychotic Tatum Paxley taking on Tyra May Steele. Now, I was impressed with the strength of Tyra, how she was able to lift up Tatum Paxley, but however, Tatum Paxley has a bit more experience than Tyra, was able to apply the Psycho Trap, and just like that. But it's only a matter of time, as we all know where Tatum Paxley wants to go next. We know she is targeting the NXT Women's North American Champion. We will see until then. Now, before to the next match, we do see a interview with Shiloh Hill, who, of course, was foretold that will be facing against Riley Osborne. So basically, he is trying to was explaining his game plan in order to take him out. But the real question is, will it work? We know that Riley Osborne has been a very impressive wrestler. You know what he can do. We know he is very amazing. So the match itself, you would think, okay, Shiloh Hill will try to put him down. Well, he didn't keep them down because he applied the shooting star press, and just like that, it was completely over. So another fantastic win for Riley Osborne. Now, we do see a little clip from NXT Anonymous. Seems that this guy was calling two big dudes for something. We don't know what is the deal, but I'm not sure if those two big dudes are, in fact, of course, Bronco Lima and Lucian Price. So that's something we don't know, but we'll see. Now, speaking of Bronco Lima, he faces against Malik Blade. Now, it's no secret these two guys have been, of course, these two teams have been very impressive in their own way. However, how will Malik Blade overcome a much bigger individual like Bronco Lima? That's a good question. However, I think that something cost them the match. Lucian Price tried to distract Malik Blade, but for some odd reason, Lima took his time, but it might have cost him because no one expected Blade to apply the inside cradle, allowing himself to pick up the win just like that. So basically, Malik Blade got the win, leaving, of course, Bronco Lima and Lucian Price stunned. So the real question is, will Bronco Lima will try to right this wrong? It's a possibility, but that's a question we will have to wait at another time. But right now, we are officially done with all the reviews, so let's move on with, of course, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's get started. Now, our first thing we're going to be talking about is, of course, upcoming events from the promotions. Now, as you know, recently we did talk about Kitsune Women's Wrestling that will take place. Two back-to-back shows, one here in San Diego, while the other one LA. Now, for the San Diego show that will take place at the Brick by Brick on August 17th, they just announced the very first match. We have, of course, former leader of Oedo Tai, Ak Yasukawa. She'll be in action to take on the kick demon herself, Janai Kai. And I think that's going to be a very interesting match to learn about. Now, I haven't decided yet if I want to go or not, but we will see until then. Now, it's that time of year again with, of course, NWA with their annual show As you know, we got NWA 76. That particular event will take place in Philadelphia on August 21st. However, much like every time and every year of the NWA 76, they have the Burke Invitational Gauntlet match taking place, and they just recently announced Kayla Rossi will be participating. Now, those who are not familiarized with her, she's like a fitness model, but she has made various appearances during AEW Dark Times. She was like the valet for Joey Janela at the time. But yes, we know she's been wrestling elsewhere recently, but now she'll be making her appearance there. Now, as you know, we have the homecoming event by GCW in Atlantic City, 2 night shows. However, 2 matches from 2 different nights have been announced. Now, for night one, on the 24th of August, Tony Deppen will be in action to take on Sydney Akeem, formerly known as Scripps, and Reggie. So that's going to be an interesting match to hear about. And this one, I think you guys don't want to miss. On night two for Homecoming on the 25th of August, we have Masha Slavish taking on Megan Bayne. So that's going to be really fun to watch. Now, this is not an actual promotion, but this one was reported by Tokyo Sports, and I think many of you may want to hear it. Now, as you saw recently, I reviewed Surrealism Chapter 4. The main event features best friends Suri and Natsupoi teaming up. Well, once again, it's been revealed that they will be teaming up again, but however, they will be teaming with their former teacher and mentor, um, Kaoru Ito. Reason is this: Kaoru Ito will be having her 35th anniversary show taking place on October on the 14th, and of course, it was announced who will be their opponents. And it's none other than veterans Jaguar Yokota, Aja Kong, and Tomoko Watanabe. So basically, that's going to be interesting. The teacher will be teaming up with her former students, so that's something you don't want to miss out. Now, I'm not sure if I'll be able to see it. I mean, I would love to see it. I know that recently Natsupoi was with Tam Nakano. She wrestled against, of course, Aja Kong and Ito last time, but now it's a different situation on this one. So I'm looking forward to it. Now let's begin with, of course, with some developments. Now, Penta El Zero Miedo has been mentioned recently. Apparently, he filed some trademark names with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Zero Miedo, which starts with the Z, but another version of Zero Miedo with the C actually was also mentioned. And then, of course, there's the word Animo. So that has been part of the trademarks. Now, we know that there's been discussions about Penta's contract with AEW will be ending soon. Now, I'm not sure if Ray Phoenix is doing the same thing what Penta's doing, but I'm sure we'll find out. Now, New Japan has announced a very interesting development. As you know, we got the Capital Collision event. This was sent to a message by Hechicero and Virus. They challenge, of course, TMDK's Shane Hayes and Mikey Nichols. Now, we don't know for sure if this is for the tag titles. That's something we don't know. Until they say otherwise for the upcoming events, then I'll put it. But we will see what TMDK will respond to that. Now, some of you may question, where is Utami Hayashishita? Well, she's out due to an illness. She's recovering from this thing. Hopefully I pronounce it right. Iteritis, something like that. So basically, she's been not feeling well. But according to what information are saying, she's been updating on her weekly Saturday column on Weekly Pro Wrestling Mobile. I don't know exactly what she does there, but yes, she's been doing that. So that's why she's been out. Now, many of you may have heard the storyline in the much recent AEW Dynamite that Britt Baker is suspended. Well, it looks like it's real. Now, from what the information has been going around, Britt Baker was talking in the locker room, talking smack about MJF. Now, many of you who know this or not, MJF's real life girlfriend is Alicia Atute. So basically, she found out about this, and of course, like any girlfriend would do, she has to tell her man. And I'm sure this led the whole argument. Now, there was like basically going back and forth, like the he said, she said. So this led to, of course, Britt Baker be suspended while there's an investigation being made on this one. So there'll be more information about this. We will cover that. Jungle Kyona, as you all know, we haven't seen her for quite some time. We do know she has been enlisted with the fire department in some city. She just posted out saying, "I want to wrestle." Now, we don't know for sure if she's where she's gonna do next. Now, we know she has been wrestling freelancing. She left what was it, Stardom? I think what was it, 2022. The reason she left Stardom is because she was out on injury. She was gone for almost 2 years, and she did confess that she might have burned bridges with certain people. Now, we do know she attended the first Mighty Gold event. I wouldn't be surprised if she decides to join Mighty Gold. That is something that would be a possibility. We know that she owed a lot debt of gratitude to Rossi Ogawa, so that's most likely the possibility what we can see. Now, as you all know, we saw what Kamitani did during the World Rendezvous event last weekend, and she had to say about Asumi. Now, Asumi recently had spoken about her, and of course, Kamitani had something to say, what she said about as well. But let's. This is what she said, Kamitani. When and where did I say I wanted to be like an icon? What is justice? Same goes for all those people who say whatever they want. Don't force your ideals on others. So basically, she's not happy for what Azumi said. I wouldn't be surprised if those two will face each other at some point down the line. Now, Maika, as you know, has been recently been talking after the loss of her um, after the loss she had this past weekend. And this is what she said about losing the red belt to Natsuko Tora. I've been a lot of things going on in the promotion over the past 6 months. I've been running around trying to lead the promotion as the face of Stardom, but things have calmed down a lot recently, haven't they? So maybe I let my guard down this time and I lost the belt. I've been so tensed up until now, so to be honest, I feel like I finally had a weight lift off my shoulder. I think she was feeling the pressure. I mean, I did stated this a while ago. She was not happy with the fact that people were talking about Julia leaving, and of course, feeling like she is the person who needs to talk about. And now it's like, all like, I think she was in a lot of pressure. But now that's gone, it's like, shit doesn't have to worry too much. But that's not the end of it. But she also talked about the betrayal from Kamitani. And this is what she said. I was surprised. But Kamitani has always insisted she was in Queen's Quest alone. So looking back now, it did feel strange that she's been clinging to me like that. She never did find it strange that all of a sudden Kamitani decided to choose to be the only sole member of Queen's Quest, but yet clinging on to her. That's kind of interesting. But we do know those two have been rivals before. During, of course, Kamitani white belt time, and of course, recently Kamitani challenged for the red belt and lost. But that doesn't end more there. Maika is eager to get revenge on the newly formed faction Hate, and this is what she said about it. My desires to crush them hasn't changed. I originally promised Kamitani that we would meet in the 5-star Grand Prix finals, so I want her to make it to the finals, and then I'll get my revenge with all my might. I will win the league and get the red belt back by the end of this year. Now, I don't know if she'll ever get it back. I mean, there are other potential wrestlers that could win, but we'll just wait and see. But as you all know, because of this betrayal from Kamitani, she's very grateful for Mina Shirakawa for being by her side, and this is what she said about her. She said that Mina warned her about Kamitani, and this is what she said. I wanted to get rid of the frustration of losing the belt. Also, Kamitani had told me to be careful of Kamitani, but in the end I was betrayed, and I feel bad for that. Everyone has supported me so much until now. I'll defend the belt, maybe treat them some good sushi. So I think she's happy to know that she has people around her. I know that they don't blame her for that betrayal, but of course it's still shocker how things ended. But at the same time, she would definitely want to get revenge on it. But we will see what happens. So that's pretty much it. What we have for our news updates and everything else. So let's just call it a day. Okay. So I hope everybody, enjoys this episode. Coming up, we do have more with, of course, the G1, and I think we are doing A block matches. I'm not 100% sure if that's the case, but we will see. But for the time being, we do have AEW Collision. Now, I haven't decided if there was any other events I want to review, but we'll get to that. Now, also, we have SummerSlam. Now, normally I don't watch WWE's bigger events unless if it's WrestleMania, of course, or the Royal Rumble, which is, however it's going to be. But that depends. Now, if I do have time for SummerSlam, then we'll see. But until then, we'll just leave things as it is. So the top priority is day 9 of the G1, and of course AEW Collision. SummerSlam, that is still undecided. So that's what I'll leave for now to all of you, and we'll just wait and see. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.